Thank you for clicking on this video. This is Smashy Smashy Eggman, movie reviews and more. That's a long title. I'm probably going to have to shorten it. That's right. If you've been watching the new videos, you know I changed the channel name a while back, but a bunch of videos have been premiering that still use the old nomenclature of the channel. It's because I had those videos filmed and I wasn't going to go back and reshoot those videos. But this is the first video that I've shot using the Smashy Smashy Eggman moniker, and I'm, yeah. Alright, so it's musical month. We've talked already this month about Cats, we've talked about the Devil's Carnival, and Hallelujah, the Devil's Carnival. Jesus Christ Superstar is next week. That one will actually still have the old nomenclature on it, because it just will. I shot that one a while ago because I didn't actually have to rewatch that movie to be able to talk about it, so I shot it back when I was shooting the bulk of the rest of the videos. It happened, a lot of stuff have come up, and I'm glad I had all those videos pre-shot so I could enjoy other aspects of my life. But now I'm getting back into reviews. And yeah, this is the first one back. I know I said in some of the other videos Fiddler on the Roof was going to be part of this. I did remove it so I could do a different video and talk about something else at the end of this month. I'll probably have to talk about it at the end of this video, given the fact that the Jesus Christ Superstar video, I won't talk about it because I shot that a while ago. So, this week I am talking about the musical Across the Universe, the Beatles jukebox musical. I saw this a couple of times when it first came out, back in the mid-2000s, early 2000s, somewhere in there. I can't remember exactly. I want to say 2005, but I feel like my full exposure to it wasn't until like a while after. And of course 2007, so I wasn't so far off. Because I had a friend who loved watching this movie, and they watched it a lot. I think I've seen this movie straight through from start to finish a couple of times, and I know I've watched scenes out of order a lot more than that, because of this friend who just loved this movie, and I think they didn't love the movie, I think they loved the music, so they just played it, watched it a lot to hear the music, which is fine. The music isn't bad. The music isn't this movie's problem. The plot is this movie's problem. The fact that it wants a plot, while at the same time it doesn't want a plot. It just can't decide. It can't make up its mind what it wants. But the music is really good, and I think it's so good, there's too much of it. Because there's so much of it, we don't have a plot. And you have some characters who are literally there to permit a song. They're not important to the plot or the story, and in fact, the minute their song is done, they are quickly removed from the story, and make two quick pop-ups without ever explaining why they're popping back into this story. Yeah, and I think they have an arc, but this movie has a lot of stuff that happens that it just doesn't want to explain. It doesn't want to waste time explaining things. It just wants to make quick statements and then get to the next Beatles song. And that's the problem with this movie. So this movie is about Jude. He's from Liverpool, obviously, where the Beatles are from, who is, I really want to say this is what happens, because again, this movie really doesn't tell you what happens. It expects you to figure it out. With this kind of a plot, you need to be told. He is drafted into the British service to fight in Vietnam, but instead of going to Vietnam, he jumps off the ship in America. I'm assuming this because no dialogue, because he's definitely not in America legally, and everything leading up to that makes it sound like that's what's happening. So I'm assuming that's what's happening. Again, I might have looked away for half a second and the scene happened, and I just missed it because stuff happens that fast. As far as I'm aware, he is in Liverpool in one scene, and the next scene he is hitchhiking to go to Princeton University. He is looking for his father, who was a serviceman in World War II, knocked up his mom, unknowingly knocked up his mom, and then went home. He goes to meet him where he runs into Max. Obviously, you know Beatles songs, Hey Jude and Maxwell Silver Hammer, even though Maxwell Silver Hammer, not in this movie. They have a character named Max, and the song associated with his name is never said. It's never said. They never sing that song. But it's associated with his name, and that's where his name comes from. But yet we have a character called Prudence, who I've already skipped over her entire introduction, who is literally in this movie, so they can sing Dear Prudence. We don't get Maxwell Silver Hammer, but we get Dear Prudence and a character. Prudence is the character who, you see a truck taking soldiers off to training, and she's a cheerleader at her high school, and she sings I Want to Hold Your Hand because she's a lesbian during, the Vietnam conflict, so she can't be outed as a lesbian. And then 30 minutes after that song, she's in New York for reasons. They never explain, she ran away from Ohio. Apparently she's from Ohio. And by the way, one of our other characters is in the truck that drives past, so either he was stationed in Ohio or some of these other characters, but they're definitely not from Ohio because they drive to New York pretty quickly. They must have been stationed in Ohio. I didn't realize it was Ohio, but she said it was Ohio, so it has to be Ohio. Prudence's arc is real simple. She wants women, but makes a lot of statements about having sex with men because she doesn't want to be outed as a lesbian. Moves in with the rest of the characters for about 5 minutes. They sing Dear Prudence. It's then mentioned in dialogue that she left. She then shows up later in the movie as part of Mr. Kite's thing. Circus? I'm going to call it a circus. She shows up as part of Mr. Kite's circus, where now she has a girlfriend, which is cool. That's her arc. And then she disappears. She doesn't stay with the group after they find her at Mr. Kite's because she's found herself and she's happy. And then for some reason she shows up without her girlfriend at the very end of the movie to be part of the climax of this film, like she's an important character. She's not an important character. We didn't need her character. We didn't need a reason to sing Dear Prudence. I don't know why that existed. That could have cut 15 minutes out of this movie. And this movie is over 2 hours long, so they should have cut 15 minutes and just not had the character. Back to an actual plot. Jude runs into Max, who's a student at Princeton. They start hanging out. They become friends. Get a little help with the... So the song, I Need a Little Help from My Friends, there's a moment where they talk about getting high. The song has a moment where it talks about, I get high with a little help from my friends. And it's these guys, Max, Jude, and Max's friends in Princeton, getting high, except they're not holding anything. They're acting like they're holding something. So it's like, okay, it's pantomime. That's cool. They're pantomiming the joint. That is absolutely... And by the way, there are joints that show up later in this movie. So it's not that they just couldn't show a joint. They show a joint later, but not here. The problem with this scene is, all of a sudden, Jude gets smacked on the back while he's puffing, and smoke comes out. Meaning it's not an imaginary joint, it's a real joint that is invisible. They have invisible joints. I don't think that technology existed at that point in history, but they have invisible joints. I just want invisible joints. Max takes Jude home for Thanksgiving, where Jude meets Max's sister, Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds, which is not even sang. That's the end credits song. So again, we gave this character a name to reference a Beatles song, and then we don't even have the song in the stupid movie as one of the songs sang. He never looks at her. Like, these two are in love, and he never sings Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds to her to woo her. This is a song, you can woo her with this song. But no, that's fine. Alright, Lucy had a boyfriend. I say had, because he went off to do military service and is dead. He's dead. I'm jumping the gun because he dies slightly later, but he's totally unimportant, so he's just dead. She and Max begin a fling, and then she and Jude have a fling. She's the sister of Max. I just literally finished watching this movie and I'm getting stuff screwed up. Her and Jude start to have a fling, and then Max and Jude move to New York, where they move into Sadie's apartment. Sadie is a rock star, and also a reference to another Beatles song. That one I'm not as familiar with. They meet Sadie. They rent a room from her. There's somebody else that lives there too, but he literally has 3 lines of dialogue and is never given a name. So we're just going to ignore him. You also meet JoJo, who is a guitarist from somewhere in the South, I'm assuming, because his first thing is his little brother dies. I only know it's his little brother because I looked up the Wikipedia on this movie. It's the only reason I know it's his little brother. The movie does not make it clear that he has any relation to this kid other than he's at his funeral. And then he moves to New York after and becomes the guitarist for Sadie's band. And they begin to have a fling. Lucy decides to spend the summer between high school and college in New York with Max, where her and Jude begin their full romance. Prudence shows up. Doesn't matter. Max is drafted into the military, which is honestly one of my favorite songs and scenes, is I Want You. Like, the way they did it, just that one scene is worth watching. The rest of the movie really isn't, but that one scene, that is a great scene, and I've always enjoyed that scene. And basically after that scene, this movie starts taking a rocket ship downhill. And that's about the hour mark. So Max has been drafted. He'll be sent to Vietnam. So and Sadie is going to get signed to a big record label. The person that plays the rep of the record label is from The Office. He's one of Dwight's friends. It's the only reason I recognized him. I recognized more of the supporting cast of this movie than the starring cast. They eventually go to a loft party where Bono sings I Am the Walrus, also a really good song. Trippy, but it's a trippy song. That's where they end up with Mr. Kite, and that's Eddie Izzard, and Eddie Izzard does a great job. I also love that song. And it's a real trippy scene, and this is where Prudence shows back up for a cup of coffee. Eddie Izzard, we then get done with Mr. Kite, and Max is in Vietnam, because apparently there was no story between ending Mr. Kite and Max being in Vietnam. Not even going. I'm not sure how much time this movie takes place in, but it's definitely a while. It's definitely a while. Like, it has to be. It has to be. Lucy joins up with anti-war group, and that is eating up most of her time. As Sadie and JoJo, they break up and their band breaks up, and that we're done with them for the rest of this movie until the end as well. They break up, and don't need to see them for the rest of this. Also, same thing with Max. He goes off to Vietnam, and you would think that we'd move back to him in Vietnam a couple of times, but we really don't, other than in random, people looking at something and just seeing Max there. He is basically out of this movie after he goes to Vietnam. He is unnecessary. This movie takes place in New York. So Lucy and Jude drift apart because Lucy wants to be a revolutionary and Jude wants to be an artist. Also, he's an illegal immigrant, so he really can't do much, because if he gets found out, bam, he's going back to England. Eventually, Jude shows up at a protest to talk to Lucy. Cops show up. He steps in to try to help Lucy. He gets beaten, arrested, and sent back to England. Max is injured in battle and is put in a VA hospital where he has a trippy dream with Selma Hayek. He is then released, and eventually Jude gets a visa and comes back, which probably wasn't all that difficult given the fact his father is an American citizen. So once he had proof that his father is his father, and his father says he's his son, it was probably real easy for him to get back into America. Probably. I don't know. I don't know how hard that is. I don't know how hard that was then. I feel like it's probably harder now than it was then to prove that you're an actual citizen who was just born in another country. Because technically, yeah, he's the son of a U.S. citizen, therefore he's a U.S. citizen. He was a citizen, but he was still considered an immigrant because his dad's name wasn't on his birth certificate, apparently. But he still had, but his mom never told him his dad's name, from what it sounded like, but he still found out who his dad was. So somebody had to know who his dad was. His dad's name had to be on something, because he used Army records, so the Army had to have known that he was looking for his dad through Army records. Okay, I'm getting into a wormhole of stuff I don't know about. Therefore, Jude is reunited with Lucy on top of a building where Sadie and JoJo have just reunited as well. Because, of course, you gotta do the top of the building thing for in a Beatles jukebox musical. And that's the end of the movie. And the credits roll, and we finally hear Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. Literally, that was the entire plot of this movie. I crunched it into a couple of minutes. And it's 2 hours and 15 minutes is how long this film runs. Again, the music is really good. They do a good job adapting the Beatles music for these other artists who are obviously singing them, the cast, and the guest artists who sing various songs such as Bono. They do a good job. The music is good, but the haphazard way they tried to string the music together, it just doesn't work. And even when it would have been forgivable 9 times out of 10, it happens so late in the movie that you're sick of these just coincidental reasons to get to this song. Because Strawberry Fields makes sense. How they get to it makes sense. Jude is hearing reports about the Vietnam War while he is looking at a bowl of strawberries, and he starts to make art with the strawberries while singing Strawberry Fields. This makes sense, but it's just so forced that the strawberries are there that, although in any other sense, you'd be like, oh, this is a perfect way to transition into this song. At that exact moment, you're like, oh my lord, he's going to sing Strawberry Fields just because there are strawberries there. That's it. That's why. Like, it's because there are strawberries. Not because, of the concept that a strawberry field is a bloody field. You could argue it's a bloody field, and it's a metaphor for war and a bloody field. Like, all of this makes sense. The problem is, they had to force the strawberries into the seed. A bowl of strawberries. Like, if it was just one strawberry, that would have been weird, but at least that would have been like, oh, that's really clever. There's only one strawberry, and now he's made all of this other stuff in his head to get to the strawberry fields, but it's a bowl of strawberries. And then he pins them to a wall, making it look like a bloody strawberry field. So we're not punching the audience in the face with plot. We're punching the audience in the face with metaphor. Thumbs up. Yeah, I still don't care for this movie. It's probably been like a decade since the last time I watched it. Maybe even a little more than that. Yeah, it did not get better with age. Again, listen to a Beatles soundtrack. Listen to a Beatles album if you want to hear some good Beatles music. There's no reason to re-watch Across the Universe. And the movie's called Across the Universe, and the song is in the movie for about a minute. For about a minute, Jude sings Across the Universe for about a minute before it quickly transitions into Helter Skelter, which is a reprise. Helter Skelter is played twice. Across the Universe is played for a minute. The title song played for a minute. I get it. Like, out of most of the songs they chose, what's gonna sell the movie? I'm not even sure Across the Universe is the one to have picked. Because, again, it's not a Beatles song. Like, it doesn't pop to my head as, oh, that's a Beatles song. Yeah. Yeah, again, I don't recommend Across the Universe. So, yeah, that's it. I don't have that much. I don't think I have anything else I want to say. Yeah, I talked about the shitty plot, the unnecessary character. The music's not bad. Yeah, I think I covered everything. I think I covered everything I wanted to. And I kind of touched on the fact that this movie has no sense of how long it wants it. Like, how much time actually passes in this film. Because it's a lot. This movie has to take place over the span of years. Um, it has to. Like, a guy does his full term in Vietnam, goes to Vietnam and serves time, a decent amount of time, as far as I can tell, within the frame of the movie. Yeah, like there's nothing weird like a baby. I mean, a baby gets made. A character you meet at the beginning of the movie, the next time you see them, they're pregnant from somebody else. And they said they didn't hook up with that dude until 2 weeks after Jude stopped writing. So we've got at least, however, I have no idea. I'm going to stop thinking about this movie now. Alright, so next week I'm talking about Jesus Christ Superstar, a good musical, one of my top 100 movies. Check that one out. The week after, instead of ending this month on a musical, I'm actually going to be talking about a TV show that is movies. I'm going to be talking about my favorite episode of Mystery Science Theater 3000, Overdrawn at the Memory Bank, and the Mystery Science Theater 3000 movie. I'm going to cover both of them. That's going to be in 2 weeks. Next week is Jesus Christ Superstar. That's going to be a good time. So check it out. I am Martin Prevost. This is Smashy Smashy Eggman, movie reviews and more. And have a good one. Like, comment, subscribe. You know all that stuff. Have a good one. And I will talk to you later.